Hi everybody, my name is Sarah and today I'm going to go over 10 tips to fight depression or overcome depression. Now just a little background story. I have dealt with depression and anxiety pretty much my entire life. I was diagnosed as bipolar at age 12 and ever since I have been dealing with it, trying to come up with ways to make it easier, because even though I am on medication and have been on medication for a long time, it doesn't completely take it away. So you do have to do some self-work to overcome this and find different strategies to work on it on your own. So here are some of those strategies, and just remember that it is a journey with depression. It's not a one and done, I'm better deal. If there are people out there who find one thing and it fixes their depression, great for them. Like, I'm so happy for them. But that has not been my journey, and I don't think it's most people's journey. So here are 10 tips. Let's get into it. The first one is to set your sleep schedule and get your sleep cycle on track. Sleep is so directly linked to mental health. There's lots of research on this. Any psychologist or even doctor will tell you this. If you're not getting enough sleep or even getting too much sleep, it can greatly impact your mental health. Your body regenerates when it sleeps. So for example, like when you're sick, you need a lot of sleep to recover. It's the same thing with your mental health. You need the sleep to recover, to get your brain on track, to get those chemicals and whatever is in your brain leveled. And if you're not getting enough sleep or too much, it can really impact that. So what I mean by a sleep schedule is set a time when you go to bed and set a time when you wake up in the morning and stick to it. I think the recommendation for adults is 7 to 9 hours a night of sleep. Try to get in that window somewhere. Even I am guilty on my days off of sleeping in too late, and then I wake up with a headache every single time, and I'm dehydrated, and it's just too much. So I have been working on this as well. So if you, for example, like to stay up late, maybe your window is midnight to 7 a.m. If you're someone who has kids and goes to bed early like me, then your window might be 9 to 6 or 9 to 5, whatever works for you. But this is really important, and it's an easy first step to take. I'm going to make a video on sleep tips to help you sleep, because I know with a lot of mental illness problems, insomnia is part of it. I've dealt with insomnia my whole life, so I'm going to make another video on tips to overcome insomnia, but that's further to come. Let's go to tip number 2, daily affirmations. Now I know this is just like oversaid, overheard, especially if you're on TikTok. Everybody's talking about their daily affirmations and how important they are, but truly they are important. What you think affects your life greatly, and what you say affects the way you think. You can rewire your brain to think differently by saying these things every day. So if part of your depression is having low self-confidence, every day looking in the mirror and saying, I am beautiful, I am worthy, I am enough, your body starts to remember it and believe it. It's not some magic trick that people are just saying to get likes and views. It really does help. And I will put a picture of the daily affirmations that I say every day. I have them on my phone, and I'll put that in now. And then you can kind of decide on your own what is best for you. What do you really need to hear every single day? And by doing this, especially in the morning, it starts your day off on the right foot. It starts your day off on a positive note, and you are able to have a better day because of it. Tip number 3 is to get ready. Now I know on your days off, you kind of just want to like lounge in sweatpants, and especially if you're dealing with depression, just stay in bed all day. If you get ready, do your makeup, put on, doesn't have to be nice clothes like a dress, but just get dressed, get out of your pajamas. Even if you're in sweats, just change your clothes. If you're not into makeup, do your hair, you know, do your skincare, whatever it is, just get ready for the day as if you have something to do today, even if you don't. If you look good and feel like you look good, you feel good. If you are not put together and are in your pajamas all day, you're less likely to be productive. You're less likely to feel good about yourself. And it's just kind of like a spiral effect. If you are ready for the day, you're probably going to be more likely to go and do something, whether it's a cleaning task or going to grab some lunch or whatever it may be. It is truly helpful, and it's another thing that kind of rewires your brain thinking. So that's another tip. Tip number 4 is the environment that you live in sets the tone for your brain. So if you live in a cluttered, messy environment, your brain is going to feel cluttered and messy. While if you live in a clean and tidy environment, your brain's going to feel better. So with depression, I know it's really hard to not be cluttered and to clean, and that is a battle that I have all the time. I mean, I'll be honest, I don't make my beds unless I'm making videos. Like, I never make my bed. It's a habit that I want to change. Continuing on what I was saying, by making your environment a more positive one, you're going to have a more positive brain chemistry and a more positive day. It really does make a difference. And not only that, but if you clean up your room or your kitchen or whatever it is, you get that feeling of accomplishment. And accomplishment is so important with depression, to get that sense of warmth and like you are doing something, like you have control over it. It really is so important, and it makes such a big difference. And it's such a small thing that seems like a big thing with depression. Cleaning can, for some people, just be so quick and easy and part of their routine. But with depression, that's not always the case. Little tasks seem like huge tasks, and I get that. But just do one task a day. Let's say clear off your dresser one day, the next day make your bed, the next day vacuum, you know, just put it into little bits so that it's not so overwhelming. My next tip is to have to-do lists. If you're not somebody that's used to making to-do lists, strongly consider it. It doesn't have to be on pen and paper like the typical to-do list. I personally like that because I like being able to check it off. But there are lots of to-do list apps. You can even just make one on your notes section in your phone. Just the simple action of crossing that off when you get something done gives you another sense of accomplishment and another sense of warmth and positivity and worth, because you are doing things that are putting you on the right foot and in the right direction. To-do lists give you that little, I would even say like dopamine effect by crossing it off. That feeling of accomplishment, like I said, is so important with depression. So definitely consider making some to-do lists. And it doesn't even have to be like all of your work tasks for the day. It could just be do the dishes, brush my hair, brush my teeth, shower. The little things that in the long run all add up to a big thing. So definitely try it. You know, it's not going to harm you to try it. My next tip is to get outside. Being outside in nature has so many positive effects, and it really does help you feel better. Just being in the sunshine, our body needs sunshine. We need the vitamin D, and if we're lacking it, we can feel kind of crummy. I used to take vitamin D supplements, and I do think it helps with my depression quite a bit, so that's an idea for you. I'm a little more stable now, so I don't really need them, but that's something you can try. But even, for free, just getting out into the fresh air, even if it's just going on a walk for 20 minutes a day, get out of the freaking house. This is huge. All you want to do when you're depressed is lay in bed all day. I get it. I totally get it. I've been there. I'm there on a regular basis. But by getting out into the fresh air, take a book outside, watch your TikToks outside, do whatever, go to a local park, anything to get that fresh air and sunlight. And it changes your environment, which changes your mental thinking. My therapist gave me this tip that if you are feeling anxious or overwhelmed, to change your body temperature. This is more so for anxiety, but I'll give you the little tip now. And going outside, it might be warm or cold, but it immediately changes your body temperature and it stops your brain in its tracks and helps you think differently. Another way to do that is to jump into a cold or hot shower, and it kind of gives you a reset. So get outside, you can do it. I know you can do it. My next tip, which I struggle with, obviously I'm a bigger girl, is exercise. You've heard this over and over and over, the positive effects of exercising on your brain. You get a dopamine hit, you get those endorphins. It's another sense of accomplishment. And I personally am slowly trying to exercise regularly. I did get a membership, just Planet Fitness, just so you know, the cheapest thing possible. And probably about twice a week right now, I've been going and biking about 5 miles. Which might not seem like a lot to you, or might seem like a crazy amount to you. I don't know where you're at on your fitness journey. But that's about all I can do. And exercising can be daunting, especially if you're like me and are shy and you're too afraid to ask like what all these machines are for. It can be daunting, but you also can exercise from home. I mean, with YouTube, there are so many free workouts that you can do from home, beginner workouts or whatever level you're at. Or if you don't want to do that, just go for a walk. Go for a walk, go for a jog, run around with your dog or your kids, like just get some sort of exercise in. And I know when I'm feeling kind of funky and down, I try to go for walks. And it helps me think, which can be a good and a bad thing. If I'm overthinking about negative things, then it's a bad thing. And if that happens, then I'll put my AirPods in and listen to some music or a podcast. But just going for a walk can kind of reset you and it gets you outside again. Just try to find some sort of exercise you can do daily or even just a few times a week. It definitely will help. But don't get so overwhelmed thinking that you have to be on top of it. You have to be a certain level of fitness, because that in itself can cause some depression when you don't reach those goals. And I get that. So just kind of take it lightly and just do your best. This next one is probably my biggest tip ever, and that is self-care. Now, self-care looks different for everybody. For me, I'm very girly, and I love doing my nails. I love doing hair masks, face masks, getting pedicures and manicures. Going for a walk can be self-care. For some people, exercising is self-care. For others, for me, I like to, if I'm feeling down, just get on TikTok and laugh. Like, laughter is for sure self-care. Whatever it may be for you, it doesn't have to be that idea that we have in our heads of self-care of a bubble bath and a face mask. Like, that's not for everybody. Everybody is different with their self-care. Maybe you have a hobby that you really like to do, like photography or quilting or something like that. That's self-care right there, just doing your hobby. But self-care is really important. Try to make it daily, even if it's just something small daily. If you can't do it daily, every other day, definitely at least weekly. So for me, like, I can't afford pedicures all the time. I get them once a month. And that is a very special treat for me. And I normally will go and get Starbucks once I get my pedicure, which I also don't get all the time because it is expensive. And I am on a college student / mom budget. But yeah, just get that self-care time in and experiment with what works for you. What makes the most impact for you? Now, if all of those things, I don't want to say don't work because they will work, but if they're not enough, consider therapy. I'll be honest, I was a skeptic for therapy for a long time because I've been in and out of therapy pretty much my whole life with being bipolar. And I saw a lot of crap therapists that just were not good at their job. The typical, like, they answer a question with a question crap. I don't deal with that. I don't deal with the BS. I need a therapist who's going to tell me straight, Sarah, you're doing something wrong. Sarah, this is what you need to do. And I finally found one. I actually found her through BetterHelp. Which if you are just starting therapy, BetterHelp I think is the best place to go for multiple reasons. One, it's inexpensive. If you do the quarterly payment cycle, as long as it's still correct, it's $35 a week, which is way cheaper than most therapists. Most therapists are $100 or more a session, and even with insurance, it can be like $50 or $60. But the best feature isn't the price, it's that you can constantly change your therapist with the press of a button. So if you don't like the therapist you're talking to, they rub you the wrong way, they're not helping you, you can just click change therapist and it'll show you all these options and you pick another one and you don't even have to tell the therapist you're talking to. It's just that simple. That is an option that typical therapy does not give you. It's hard to find a therapist sometimes, and especially now after COVID, everything is not in person, and it can be hard to find one. And I will tell you, with BetterHelp, you can do video calls or phone calls. I personally prefer just phone calls because I'm self-conscious, but if you want that face-to-face kind of interaction, do the video call. It's really not any different than just being in an office. And therapy has helped me so much now that I found the right therapist. Before, it didn't help because I wasn't with the right person. Now I have learned coping skills. I can talk through my problems with somebody that's outside of the situation and is more able to help me without any judgment. Because if you're talking to your family about your problems, like, they're always going to be biased towards you or biased against you, however your family dynamic is. But your therapist is unbiased and they're there to help you if they're a good therapist. And by just being called out and being like, Sarah, you can't be doing that. The biggest thing that we're working on right now, because I am recently divorced, is I'm almost like living in the past and constantly thinking about the past, what I coulda, shoulda, woulda done. And we're working on that. And she was just straight up like, Sarah, you can't live in the past. It's gone. It's gone forever. You have to live in the now. And she was very straightforward about it. And that's what I like. But you have to decide what you like. Maybe you want a therapist that is always on your side, always giving you positivity, and maybe that's what you need. Great. That's not for me, but maybe that's what you need. And if you're skeptical about therapy, what I will say is that nobody ever gets worse from therapy. Never. You might stay the same if you don't have the right therapist. But you can only go up from here when it comes to therapy, so just try it. My next tip is medication. So medication isn't for everyone. Some people just don't want medicine in their body, and I get that. but sometimes it's very necessary. And I know without my medications, I could not function, possibly not survive. I have had suicide attempts in the past when I was not on medication, but that's a very extreme sort. So when you start medication for the first time, there is a trial and error process that is pretty daunting. And for a while, it can even make you worse because you're on the wrong medication. And for example, I was on Abilify at one point and it made me suicidal when it was supposed to help. So everybody reacts differently, but there's good news. There is this new branch of medicine. Well, I don't know if it's medicine, new branch of science, I guess. And my dad actually works for one of the companies, and the company is called Genomind, and I'll put a link to their website in the description. And what they do is they do a DNA test, and it tells your doctor which medications are more likely to work for you and which ones definitely will not work for you. It's amazing. It takes that trial and error process and cuts it down to at least half the time. And I have learned so much about myself by doing it, and it has been a blessing. So I will put that in the description. My last tip is to surround yourself with people that lift you up and that are positive. You only have so much control over this. You know, you work with people, you can't change who you work with all the time. If you live with family, you can't change who you live with. But you can change the amount of energy you give to those people. So if they are a positive person, put all your energy into them. If they are uplifting you and helping you, give them your energy. If they take your energy from you, back away. I have had to lessen some relationships, even in my family, because of this. And I've gained perspective through it all. And it really does make an impact. So those are my tips. I am not a medical professional. I am not a doctor or a psychologist or anything like that. I am just somebody who's been through it, still going through it, and I know how difficult depression can be. And even if you're on medication, medication only does so much. There's still more work that you have to do. I hope this helps you. Leave a comment, tell me your story. I would love to hear it. Or leave a comment with a tip that maybe I didn't say, or what tip was your favorite and you've tried. Also, click the like button and subscribe. I am very new to this and I'm just starting this channel, but my vision for this channel is to be focused on mental health awareness, as well as vlogging with my children and mom content, as well as just me and everything that encompasses me. I am not your typical looks perfect YouTuber. I'm overweight, I'm average, I'm not completely clean and a beautiful home or anything like that, but I'm real, and I feel like that is something that's worth something. So if you like this, subscribe, and my next video that I'm going to make that's not a vlog is tips to overcome anxiety. So if you're interested in that, keep looking for it, and I will see you next time. Bye guys.